Welcome to the Industry We Want OECD side session. We are here to reveal the 2023 Industry Dashboard scores. I'm Karen Diaz. I'm the project manager of the Industry We Want and also your host and presenter for today. I'm really excited to see so many participants already joining from across the world, really seeking to learn more about the state of affairs of the footwear sector. The current landscape of the garment and footwear sector remains fragmented. And while vested stakeholders work in silos, progress is slowed, even stagnated. To transform the industry at large, it is imperative for actors across the supply chain to work towards a shared vision and build trust amongst each other to enable joint action. And this is where the Industry We Want was born out of impatience and frustration with the pace of change and a belief in its potential to transform the lives of garment workers in a way that has a positive impact on the planet. It was initiated by Fairwear, the Ethical Trade Initiative, and the Sustainable Apparel Coalition to really accelerate progress on social, commercial, and environmental issues. And we have benefited hugely from the partnership of many industry experts, including our data partners, also shown on this slide, and widespread industry consultation and input. At the Industry We Want, we focus on inclusive processes, emphasizing the interconnectedness of environmental, social, and commercial practices. We also facilitate challenging exchanges in a constructive environment between knowledgeable, diverse, but also creative stakeholders to measure progress, enhance collaboration, drive change, but importantly, inform policy. Ultimately, we seek to attract, collect, connect, and disseminate examples of impactful solutions, such as new ideas, tools, technologies, so we can amplify their reach and effectiveness to drive collective action. And importantly, we also look towards the measurement of the state of affairs of the garment and footwear industry for shared accountability and transparency. Now, it is with this purpose in mind that we've developed these industry-wide metrics to help measure progress on an annual basis and leverage action across these three pillars. You've heard them many times now. Wages, purchasing practice, and emissions have been identified as the core pillars of our work. However, the findings of our industry dashboard do not tell the whole story. As facilitators, our strength comes from learning from each other. And power needs to shift and systems need to change across the whole value chain. However, this is only achievable together. Together, we can raise the bar and promote a level playing field. Now, I will pause here and delve deeper into the dashboard shortly, but I want to invite Dr. Axel Klappenhaken to join me and kick us off with a welcome note. Thank you. Please kick us off, Axel.
I think he has technical issues.
Oh.
I think we should.
Yes. Okay. Well, perhaps then.
Yeah.
I will move right into the dashboard. After last year's successful kickoff, we're now returning to the forum to share the updated metrics of our industry dashboard. And the metrics are insights into both progress as well as areas of need improvement, and they really intend to catalyze critical reflection. The dashboard can help serve as a public accountability tool and encourage a shift in power dynamics, which we really see as essential for a resilient sector. Also, engaging with production country voices is a key driver in bringing about this shift. And many of our metrics do pulse with our production country colleagues on how things are going. And we see this also as a tool that can help support companies in their legislative journey for human rights and environmental due diligence. As mentioned, the dashboard is made up of 3 annual metrics, 1 on wages, 1 on purchasing practices, and 1 on emissions. And data for these metrics will be updated annually, at least until 2025, so that we can really gauge how the industry is progressing and ask the challenging questions about how to support, stimulate, but also really scale progress at large. Now let's get into 2023 scores. Okay. Our first metric is the purchasing practice metric. Of a potential range of -100 to +100, the industry we want purchasing practice score for this year is 40, compared to 39 in 2022. Our purchasing practice metric uses the data gathered by the Better Buying Institute's Partnership Index survey. This is a brief annual survey available for all suppliers to rate their buyers' purchasing practices. Now, the survey circulated last October and November and received more than 1,000 responses from suppliers in 54 countries. This 12th annual point survey produces a scale of 1 to 5 to rate these 12 different topics. Scores of 5 indicate that the buyer is behaving as a true partner. Score of 4 indicate that the buyer is behaving as a collaborator. And scores of 1 to 3 indicate the buyer is behaving as a detractor. Now you will see that score breakdown. If we break down the feedback, we can see that amongst buyers rated, around 56% of overall buyers were considered those of true partners, 27% were those of collaborators, and 16% were those of detractors. And the share of these ratings actually stayed roughly the same as 22. Now, on the matters of product and process innovation, stability, timing, efficiency, visibility, audit duplication, and support towards improved working conditions, and these are listed in order of importance, we see the need for improvement across these 6 topics, with fewer than 50% of buyers rated as true partners and up to 25% considered to act as detractors. Another valuable insight was that there was significant difference in scores by region, with suppliers in China and Hong Kong and South Asia experiencing better partnerships compared to the other 6 regions. Learn more about these trends in the Better Buying Partnership Index report. You can find that on our website. Now, the link between poor purchasing practices and negative environmental and social outcomes feels like an assumption we all feel is very palpable. This metric on purchasing practices is an important focus for us at the Industry We Want, because we encourage real long-term partnership against the current norm of promiscuous or at least fleeting relationships. And we really see the need for the drastic improvement of purchasing practices, acknowledging that they are at the core of unequal buyer-supplier relations today and impede the ability of workers and management to improve working conditions through social dialogue. And this is why, moving forward, our collaboration with the MSI Group on responsible purchasing practices and the Sustainable Terms of Trade initiative are so important to this work stream. We're excited to share more with you during our deep dive session on purchasing practices later this year. Next is our wage gap metric. It's devised in partnership with Wage Indicator Foundation, and it is 48.5%. This shows that the average percentage gap between minimum wages and the average living wage estimate in 28 key garment producing countries is 48.5%. The gap has increased 3.5% compared to 2022, which means that workers in the garment and footwear sector are receiving less than half of the money they need to reach a decent standard of living. Now, this is, of course, not new information, and the sector has been characterized by the use of cheap and disposable labor for a long time. But it is extremely concerning with the number of initiatives and resources that are being invested in the topic of wages or living wage programs that this gap is increasing. Now you see an image of the data that supports this overall metric. So it contains the data on minimum wages and living wages in 28 garment producing countries. And this data set is available on our website and will be expanded and strengthened in the coming years. But I'll kick us off with describing what the data tells us here. So in the beige columns, we show the lowest minimum wage applicable in the garment sector, and the turquoise bars show the range of living wage estimates available for each countries. Now, the donut indicators below each bar show the percentage gap between the national minimum wage and the average living wage estimates for each country in ascending order. I want to encourage you to actually go to our website where you will be able to see these figures yourself and really do justice and play around with them to the rich content that is here. Yes, and for now, I just want to mention that each year, the dashboard metrics seen in the previous slide will reflect the average percentage wage gap of all these countries and also the countries that will be added subsequently. And our aim, of course, is for this wage gap to reach zero. And now to our third and final metric, it measures the greenhouse gas emissions of the sector. Now, for the purpose of the industry we want, for the 2022 score, we do data from the November 21 report, Roadmap to Net Zero, Delivering Science-Based Targets in the Apparel Sector. Now, then the report had estimated annual greenhouse gas emissions for the sector to be 1.025 gigatons. And in this analysis, it was assumed that 66% of all fibers were used in apparel. However, the 2022 emissions metric score has now been recalculated based on an updated and more accurate assumption on the fiber percentages in light of some more recent analysis by the Textile Exchange. And now using this most up-to-date percentages resulted in the change of emissions from the previous 2022 score, meaning that the emissions figure was re-baselined to reflect the most recent and up-to-date fiber allocation percentages. So now the adjusted score for 2022 is 0.889 gigatons, and the score for 2023 is 0.897 gigatons. As you can see, there's been a slight decrease, but it is very small. And the impacts of climate change are being felt around the world everywhere. Garment workers more and more report forced migrations as a result of flooding in rural areas. Dealing with the intersectional vulnerabilities also of poverty, gender inequality, and climate change has put garment workers as one of the most at-risk communities in the world. And we do need to address this quite urgently. Unchecked, AII estimates that emissions will grow to 1.17 gigatons by 2030, which is well off pace to delivering the 45 absolute reductions that we need to see to limit global warming to 1.5. It will not be enough to release intermittent reports. It is imperative that we have regular updated data sets to hold the industry accountable. And we look forward doing this with AII and also improving the calculations of the emissions year by year. Now, I think we can all agree that progress on each of these metrics is stagnating. And accelerating change is crucial to realize our vision of a thriving industry with dignified employment opportunities, fair business practices, and a positive impact on the planet. Now, measurement, of course, is not enough and it cannot change everything, but it can help us. It can help us have these challenging conversations and be able to address the topics that so urgently need addressing. Over the next few years, the industry we want will be looking to support to drive industry transformation forward. We seek to be a resource, a facilitator, but really an ally for the underrepresented voices.